Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GBNews, and that's what sets us apart.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry and this is Dewbs & Co. A very happy Christmas Eve to each and every single one of you. I've got a great show coming up tonight. The very worst terror attack in British history foiled. Thank God. Let's, though, take a look at that. Also tonight, changes to the farmers' inheritance tax. Do you think this is a step in the right direction? Does it go far enough or not? Also, non-crime hate incidents. Absolutely ridiculous things these are, but do you think they should be scrapped or not? And you tell me, do you think prison officers and police officers are working class? A new scheme for kids and internships, etc., says they're not. What do you think to that? I've got all of that and lots more. Keeping me company on my panel tonight, the co-founder and chair of the Together Association, Alan Miller. Alongside him, the former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell. But before we get stuck in, let's give you your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Very good evening to you. 6 o'clock, the top story this hour. After months of protests and mounting pressure, the government has today softened its inheritance tax plans for farms, lifting the threshold from £1 million to now £2.5 million. Ministers had planned to tax inherited farmland worth more than £1 million from 2026, triggering warnings the policy could force family farms to sell up. Farming groups say today's move is a step in the right direction, but insist many businesses still remain at risk. Reform leader Nigel Farage says it's another but a welcome Labour U-turn and a Christmas gift for Britain's embattled rural communities.
Well, this government's well known for U-turns, but this is a very welcome U-turn. The raising of the threshold to £2.5 million will make an absolutely enormous difference. Sure, some will argue it needs to be even higher, but it is a massive step in the right direction for small family farms right across the country.
In other news tonight, 2 Islamic State extremists have been found guilty of plotting what police say could have been the deadliest terror attack in UK history, targeting Manchester's Jewish community. A jury at Preston Crown Court convicted 38-year-old Walid Sadoui and 52-year-old Ammar Hussein after they brought assault rifles, handguns and ammunition for a planned suicide attack. Prosecutors said they viewed Jewish people as their primary targets, with Christian victims described, in their words, as a bonus. The third man, Bilal Sadoui, was also found guilty of failing to disclose information about the plot, as Greater Manchester Police warned the attack could have caused mass casualties.
They have meticulously delivered upon an operation of almost unprecedented complexity. Their work has ensured that the terrorists' vicious anti-Semitism did not manifest itself in the destructive fashion that they fully intended. It was clear throughout this trial that the scale of the offenders' hatred toward our Jewish community knew no bounds.
Russell Brand is facing 2 further criminal charges today, including 1 count of rape and 1 of sexual assault, police have confirmed. The Crown Prosecution Service says the 2 new charges relate to 2 additional women, on top of 5 existing charges involving 4 women. Brand has already pleaded not guilty to all previous allegations, which followed reporting by dispatches on Channel 4 and the Sunday Times. He's due to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court in January, with a trial listed at Southwark Crown Court next June. Police have said they'll take no further action over chants made during a performance by Bob Vylan at Glastonbury. Avon and Somerset police say the comments led by frontman Bobby Villan during a BBC broadcast set did not meet the criminal threshold set by the Crown Prosecution Service. Officers carried out a voluntary interview last month and say all potential offences were carefully considered. The force added that chance caused widespread anger, but there was insufficient evidence for a realistic prospect of conviction. A former councillor has appeared in court today charged with 56 sexual offences against his ex-wife, spanning more than a decade. Philip Young is accused of multiple counts of rape, drugging his former spouse, as well as voyeurism and possession of indecent images. He confirmed his details at Swindon Magistrates Court but did not enter a plea and had been remanded in custody. 5 other men also face charges linked to the same victim, who has waived her right to anonymity. And in the US, new documents have been released by the Justice Department. They're part of the long-awaited files linked to criminal investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. Among the 11,000 files is an email asking for inappropriate friends, sent from an account signed A at Balmoral to Epstein's associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The 2001 message appears under the alias The Invisible Man. That's a name also linked to an address listed in Epstein's contacts under Duke of York. The emails don't allege any wrongdoing, and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has repeatedly denied any misconduct. Those are the 6 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you in an hour. Now, though, it's over to Michelle.
Thank you very much for that, Sam, and hello, good evening to each and every single one of you. How exciting is this, everybody? Christmas Eve. Are you in the festive spirit? Are you absolutely ready for Christmas or not? Worry not, though, I shall indeed be joining you over the Christmas period in your living rooms because I've been very busy filming Christmas specials, ladies and gents. I had the bright idea to open Dewberry Tavern for one special extended opening hours. I decided to do my little bit to help the hospitality industry. I've got to tell you, it didn't all go according to plan. Take a look at this.
Party, and remember, this isn't just what the polling.
What are you talking about?
We're gonna have to do that bit again. Sorry, sorry, we're gonna do that again.
I should have just carried on, shouldn't I? I should have shown my exceptional professionalism.
Right, come on, because they're going to get mad at us in a minute.
I'll carry on.
Right.
Look, right, no,
Pack
seriously.
it in, Matt. Bring your thoughts. Matt.
It's not. Okay, one more
Matt,
go.
You've got to.
Okay,
right.
One more go. Sorry.
Come on, 'cause we've got a full show.
Okay, come on.
Here.
Green Party. For God's sake.
Matt, you've got to pack it in. It's me all night. I've got to tell you, the panel on that particular Christmas special, Aaron Bastani and Matt Goodwin, one of them, I shall not embarrass them by saying which one, but if you watch the programme, you'll be able to work it out. One of them is an absolute lightweight, and I'll have to take special precautions if he's ever invited into Dewberry Tavern ever again. That's all I can say. You can watch that programme. We did have quite a good laugh. It'll be on at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Keeping me company, though, tonight, Dewberry Tavern is closed. I've learnt my lesson. I have got the co-founder and chair of Together Association, Alan Miller, alongside him, former Labour Minister Bill Rammell. You guys have been very sensible tonight, I'm absolutely sure of that. But we just lost it. Have you ever been in that situation where you just get the giggles and you cannot help it and you're getting told off because you've got to be professional, you've got to literally get the show on the road, but you can't help it? It was one of those. I've got to tell you, it was very funny indeed. Anyway,
Alan and I are just about to leave because there's no booze.
I know. I didn't. Did I lure you here on false pretences? Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. You've got to be careful what you wish for, though. I'm from Hull, and I'm quite good in a tavern scenario, so I'd probably drink you both under the table. I've got to tell you, your liver will thank you that the tavern's closed. Your liver will thank you. You'll have an extended life expectancy because it's closed. Anyway, look, you can join the conversation in all the usual ways. Tell me, what are you up to tonight? Apart from watching Dewbs & Co. and listening, of course, are you multitasking? Are you frantically wrapping presents? Are you doing a bit of last-minute shopping? Or are you sitting there there thinking, stop talking about Christmas, I can't stand any of it, bah humbug, join the conversation in all the usual ways. You can reach me on Your Say, you can email me, of course, or on Twitter. But look, I want to start the programme with a very serious topic indeed. Absolutely appalling. You've just been hearing the finer details in the news bulletin there. A terror attack that has been described as the worst terror attack in British history has, thank God, been foiled. The targets of this terror attack were British Jews. Two guys, Islamic State-inspired would-be terrorists. They wanted basically to terrorise and harm and kill as many Jews as they could possibly get their hands on. This was all focused on Prestwich in Greater Manchester. Absolutely appalling. They're saying that it was they wanted to become martyrs. They wanted to act in revenge, basically, as to what they think is going on in Gaza. I mean, just to show you some of the weapons that these guys had is absolutely chilling. It literally, Alan Miller, sends a chill down my spine, and I sit here and I thank God for everybody that works in the security forces that help keep us safe. These guys deserve medals for what they do on a daily basis.
Well, I've got to say that as people know, I've been very critical recently of different aspects of what's going on with policing, and maybe later on the show I will be again. But full kudos and credit to Greater Manchester Police and all the people that worked undercover with this. Often we don't get to hear about things, but they really demonstrated here how they offset and prevented something that could have been catastrophic, that looks just blood-curdling. Absolutely. And also it says to kill Jews and target them and go to schools and synagogues and different places, protests, but also, in their own words, to target Jews, Christians and the Crusaders, imbued with this evil ideology that we're seeing more and more of in Britain and internationally. And I think, so we have to say that under very difficult circumstances, the police often operate. And we're seeing more and more of this, aren't we? Because we know that 40,000 people are on the terror watch list in Britain. And all of this at a time where this current government is saying there's going to be legislation to stop discussions around protected characteristics. They call that discussions around Islamophobia. And I think this really demonstrates that, on the one hand, these security forces have done a remarkable job. Thank you for Christmas from everyone in Britain. But at the same time, it's a reality check, wake-up call for everyone when Christmas markets are having bollards put up, when often they're not even doing events now, that we really need to get to grips with this outrageous, disgusting, evil ideology that we've imported here, and many of our own leaders have patronised with this kind of contempt and disgust for our own culture and history and traditions.
Phil?
The case is shocking, even by the scale of terrorist cases and attacks. The detail of this, when you read the reports, is truly, truly shocking. One, the level of organisation and planning that went into it. But two, some of the statements from the two guys, you know, praying that he's not caught until he can break his thirst with Jews and Christian blood, wanting to cut off the head of a Jewish person and then soak his body in their blood. It's utterly evil. It's utterly sickening. You know, to the ideology behind this, that, you know, because of the actions of the government of Israel, you condemn and you say it's justified to attack all Jews wherever they live is utterly repugnant. But like Alan, I think, you know, we take our hats off to the police, the security services, the prevent strategy, who clearly, you know, have done an awful lot of work on this, got it right, and stopped what would have been the biggest terrorist attack in British history. The
Jewish community in this country, and I mean, I've heard some of them discuss this matter today. You will have seen some of them on this channel, talking to earlier programmes, furious, terrified, confused, feeling betrayed and let down by our government. And our government, when you've got people like this claiming to act, they would say they want to be martyrs. They will say that they're motivated by their ideology, Islam, and all the rest of it. ordinary people will sit there and they'll be frightened. They will look at these extremists and feel afraid. And what happens within your government bill is that you're sitting there going around the houses talking about Islamophobia. A phobia is an irrational fear of something. When you've got grown men wandering the streets stating that they are acting in accordance with what they believe is an ideology, a religion and all the rest of it, a belief system, that they believe that they will be celebrated, martyred and all the rest of it for acting in a horrendous way, it's not irrational to be afraid of that.
Well, I mean, the vast majority of Muslim people, the vast majority of subscribers to the Islamic faith find this level of violence and terrorism completely unacceptable. And there are people...
That's not my point, is it?
Yeah, no, but there are
When you look at guys like this who keep going on and saying Islam is the thing that's motivating them to behave like that, then it's not irrational to have a fear of that.
No, and I'm not persuaded of the need for a definition of Islamophobia, and let's see what comes out of the review.
Why are you focusing on it then?
Because there have been concerns about the targeting of Islamic people, but I think the downsides in terms of what that definition of Islamophobia might bring, I think are concerning. It's a review at the moment.
Do you think there's a fear of people are absolutely terrified in public life, for real reason, by the way, I would say, in many cases? They're terrified of offending the Muslim community. Well, do you think I'm accurate when I say that?
No, I don't think they are. And look, you know, this government...
Let me tell you
hold on, Michelle.
That
this government has taken significant criticism because of its stance over Gaza. So if it was just running scared of the issue, then I don't think that would be the case. You know, what's happened in Gaza is a genuine concern, and we need a peaceful outcome and a peaceful settlement. But the government doesn't run away and hasn't run away from calling out violent extremism where it occurs and trying to tackle.
Why is the Batley Grammar School teacher then still hiding for his life? Why was it that woman whose son damaged his own copy of a Quran, and she had to sit there in a headscarf and be paraded in front of these men? It was almost like some kind of baying mob whilst a police officer sat alongside them. It is the most awful, bizarre situation, and it comes from a position of public officials being too cowardly to tackle this stuff. And what will happen, mark my words, ladies and gents, in this country, is this issue will get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse because nobody has got the balls to call it out. I mean, don't even get me started on the fact of this new animal welfare situation, which, by the way, I applaud. I think we all absolutely should be taking animal welfare very seriously indeed. They're sitting there talking about lobsters, fair enough, whilst completely overlooking halal slaughter, and I find it so peculiar.
I think we got
I don't find it peculiar because I know why they're doing it, but...
So there's a cowardice that goes, and we've seen it in Australia as well, and we've seen the response to the PM's behaviour. We've seen it with the Jewish community there, and I mean, I posted some things. I've just been on holiday, and you know, some of the things that are just being said. And I'm a free speech absolutist, so I think that we've got to be robust enough to hear terrible things. And people do say terrible things, right, when you post on there. And this is about saying that you're against people being slaughtered that are just of their faith, right? And then they'll still say all sorts of nasty things to you. But I think we've got real deep cowardice. We've got a situation where 50,000 or more men are in Britain where we don't know where they are. They've come in illegally. We know that many of them have come from regions like these three, actually, because one was a brother, but two from Tunisia and one from Iraq, Kuwait, who'd been in the Iraqi army, which are deeply imbued with all sorts of ideas. Not all of them entirely radical Islamists, but many of them deeply misogynistic, anti-gay, and a range of other things, deeply undemocratic. Now, all of those things, you could say that if you had a production line of being able to bring people through as legal as legal citizens, you'd have a really robust mechanism to assert our values, democracy, the Enlightenment, the Renaissance, all the things about privacy and democracy and all of those things. But we don't do any of that. In fact, what we do in our schools and our institutions is that we say that we're all bad, we're mad, bad and dangerous, we've raped and pillaged the world. It's quite reasonable that people hate the West and they hate us. With all those discussions after 9/11, why do they hate us? This has now created a situation where the utter disgust alongside a kind of an ideology that's so evil has been pandered to. We've seen it with the rape gangs. We've seen it with DEI and the way that Hendon Police College trains people and talks about protected characteristics. We've seen it around two-tier policing and the way people who raise the issue of borders. We've seen it at the Labour Party conference when they call millions of voters far-right and racist. And the public is fed up of it. But much more importantly is that we've got a massive issue with safety now in this country, and we need to really get it dealt with. And I fear that the words are hollow, even though this has been really a great intervention, and we need to get it dealt with, honestly.
Let me tell you as well, these two scumbags, they haven't yet been sentenced. Let me predict what will happen. When they get sent to prison, they will be regarded by many within that prison population as some kind of heroes among some of those inmates. I can tell you, we're heading for problems in this country, ladies and gents, but we'll end as we started, which is paying tribute to all of those officers, all of those services which worked to foil this plot. Thank God for each and every single one of you. That's all I can say. Coming up, I need to talk to you about farmer inheritance tax, non-crime hate incidents, and a whole lot more. I'll see you in a minute.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewbs, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, everybody, and a very happy Christmas Eve to you. I don't know about you, but I am so excited. I cannot hold it in. I am just like a big child. Anyway, look, alongside me, they're not as excited as me, I don't think. Together Association, Alan Miller, former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell. Are you both excited?
Of course.
I'm super excited. I love Christmas. And I'm very, very furious that people are saying you shouldn't be able to say the word and you shouldn't be able to celebrate, and there's a kind of war on tradition and culture. And we should say that, you know, Britain is a Christian nation. I mean, it's like lots of secular people. I happen to be secular, but and people of all different faiths. But this is a time of the year that's really important, and too many people have talked about all the other religions and not wanting to celebrate it. I think it's fantastic. It's an exciting time for family, hopefully, if you're not on your own. It's also a time for caring and thinking about people who haven't got food and homes and all of those kind of things. And many of those deeply Christian values that also became part of secular outlook on things.
Indeed.
And I'm excited. I've got 2 grandkids, 8 and 5, and I can't wait for them to open their presents on Christmas Day.
Well, I hope Santa does indeed turn up and deliver everything that they have been asking for. Look, I'll tell you, a group of people that have had something delivered. You can be the result of whether or not it goes far enough or not. The farmers. This is a story that we've been very passionate about on GB News. We've followed this campaign. We've campaigned many, many times to stop the plans that this government had. Absolutely ridiculous when it came to this inheritance tax relief. Take a listen to Keir Starmer. I'll just remind you of this one.
Is the Prime Minister aware that some farmers who have terminal diagnosis now are actively planning to expedite their own deaths so they hit before April? Is he aware of that?
I've had discussions with a number of individuals who've drawn all manner of things to my attention.
Well, anyway, he's rode back on that one today. Alan Miller, do you think the changes now, basically they've increased the threshold now, do you think this goes far enough?
It does not go far enough. But let me just say, this brilliant shout out to everyone that campaigned and fought hard. Lots of farmers and others in the public the Together Association, we backed many farmers and came out on protests up and down the country, campaigned and lobbied for local councillors and MPs and made it clear that votes would result as a consequence of this. Had letter writing campaign, lobbying, press, and as a consequence of many people doing that across Britain, it's had an impact. So it shows that when you campaign and you lobby and you do grassroots work, and it can have an impact. It's also representative of the fact that the Prime Minister is obviously nervous, at least 30 MPs and others and councillors, they know what the polls are looking like. It's going to really impact them. But no, we pay income tax, we pay capital gain tax, we pay corporation tax, we pay value-added tax. This is a death tax. And the amount they're now going to make, £300 million, when they're actually giving £500 million away to foreign farming, in light of the huge deficit, is preposterous. It's also the case that this is kicking the can down the road. So if you happen to be married, then you might get £5 million relief. But as it happens, many are not. So £2.5 million. But then if you've got machinery and property, and bear in mind buildings and everything, and have tiny profits, then this is still impacting. We've seen 6,000 family farms close in this period. Absolutely outrageous, and some have taken their lives tragically. But much bigger question is, what is our agricultural policy? And farming is the backbone of Britain. The public love our farmers. So fantastic, good work, but it needs to be dispensed with for everyone, and we still got small businesses that are being impacted by it.
Christopher Herp, our political editor, he wrote this earlier on social media. He says, the political timing of this family farm tax climb down is extraordinary. This decision has blown a hole in the government's finances, with no idea yet of how it will be filled. MPs are on the Christmas holidays, so there is no way for ministers to tell Parliament. Why announce now? He says it looks like a panic.
Yeah, I've got some sympathy for what Chris is saying there. Look, I don't support this partial U-turn. I think farmers, even before the budget tank changes, got an incredibly preferential deal compared to everybody else within society. And even after the changes last year, a farming couple could pass on £3 million completely inheritance tax-free. They then pay a reduced rate above £3 million of 20%, and they'd have 10 years to repay it. No one else in society gets that level of special treatment. And in terms of the timing of the decision, clearly the government has listened to the farming lobby, so you might give it some credit from that point of view. But I am really surprised that the decision wasn't made in the budget a few weeks ago, where it could see where the money is coming from and how it's going to be paid for. And if the purpose of this is to get some political credit, then bluntly, and I've said many times on this show that one of my biggest criticisms of this government is an ineffective communication strategy. If you're seeking to get political credit, why do you do it 2 days before Christmas when nobody's really focused on it, instead of actually taking some plaudits for it by doing it last week?
This government is completely out of control and doolally. And the relationship between Death Row and the Treasury not knowing what its figures are, the contempt it has for working people, particularly agriculture. It seems to think that everyone's a bit like Jeremy Clarkson, who I happen to like a lot, but is out in a Land Rover and really wealthy, and they're just passing on, you know, they've got all this money and all this land. These are working people. The difference, Bill, between that and everybody else is these are not just houses that belong to people. These assets that are on a working farm, and 5 million very quickly is not going to be worth that much when you think about what's going on. So they've kicked it down the road. But the big question really that we should address is, for veterans and business people and everyone in Britain, why are we paying a death tax? We've already paid lots of taxes. We've got a government, and we've had several governments that have been incapable of having productivity, to have wealth generation for everyone, and instead what they've been doing is increasing taxes for everyone and being inefficient, spending it on quangos and ideology, you know, on and on it goes, and we don't get to grips with the situation. And frankly, that's why so many people have been leaving Britain, people with money, and we're getting into a situation where we think, with all the people who've got some money and some wealth are leaving, who's left? Death tax should go for everyone, and actually many more people are going to carry on fighting for that.
Totally disagree. The inherited wealth is a huge driver of inequality in this country, and most of the inherited wealth and the huge expansion of it is driven by the house price boom that people haven't worked for, you know, in terms of the jobs and the work and the effort that they put in. And if you just allow inherited wealth to be passed on with that big expansion, you will just see greater and greater inequality in this country. And, you know, just like death, which is inevitable, taxes have to be paid, and you do it fairly. An inheritance tax, and, you know, it's not penal. It's 40% above that 3 million level. I think that was justifiable and fair for farmers. It was still an incredibly preferential deal, and I think the government should have stuck to its guns.
You talk about inequality and all the rest of it. Loads of people out there wouldn't want to be equal to farmers if you paid them, because when you actually look at how hard farmers work 24/7, morning, noon and night, whatever the season and all the rest of it, if you said to somebody, OK, we'll make you equal, you've got to graft the way that these guys graft, come off it, they'd be like, yeah, no, thanks, you can have your inequality all day long.
Farmers do work hard, I totally accept that, but you need a fair tax system, and the deal that farmers had before the budget last year was incredibly preferential, a deal that no one else in society gets, and I don't think it was justified.
So basically, Bill Rammell is basically saying, never mind giving the farmers this partial U-turn, you should have been hitting them even harder in the first place, if I understand your point.
No. I'm simply supporting the change that was made at the budget a year and a bit ago by Rachel Reeves. We should have stuck to that deal, which was still a better deal than for any other category of people in society.
Martin has got in touch with Michelle. Will you stop using the word Santa? It's not. It's Father Christmas. No, I won't, Martin. Leave me alone. I spend my life conversing with my 5-year-old, and to him, it's Santa, and it's rubbed off on me. What can I say? Look, coming up after the break, non-crime hate incidents. Do you think that they should be scrapped or not?
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Large parts of the Mediterranean looking pretty wet through the Christmas period. Some heavy showers around, some snow over the Alps, and for Madeira also a brisk northerly wind bringing a chill and a fair few showers. Wet weather across Morocco and for the Balearics, and heavy rain for Italy, especially in the north. Some big downpours too for Croatia and down into Greece, although much of the Greek islands will be dry and sunny. We'll continue to see sunny skies in Santorini through the rest of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is dry finally for much of the UK, but increasingly windy during the next 24 hours, and that wind coming from the east is going to make it feel cold. That's the main idea for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Cold easterly winds, particularly for the southern half of the UK where the isobars are more tightly packed together. The easterlies at the moment bringing cloud cover, but the cloud tending to lift and break a bit more overnight as drier air filters in from the east, and as a result a few breaks in the cloud across eastern and central parts of the UK, more especially Scotland, where we will see a touch of frost in places because of those clearer skies and lighter winds for Christmas Eve morning. But that's where the best of the sunshine will be first thing across much of Scotland. A brighter and drier start compared with the last few mornings. For virtually everyone, it is a dry start to the day, and Northern Ireland looking a bit brighter as well, some patchy cloud remaining. And we also see a continuation of the patchy cloud across England and Wales, but the cloud a bit higher, and as a result it's not quite as gloomy as it has been during the week so far. Some decent cloud breaks then for many of us on Christmas Eve, with sunny spells coming through, more especially into the afternoon. Just some patchy cloud remaining across eastern parts, with this easterly wind strengthening all the while. That's going to make it feel cold. 5 to 7 Celsius on the thermometer, but feeling more like 1 to 3 degrees in the wind. The wind strengthens further on Christmas Day, risk of coastal gales around the south coast first thing, and that wind a key feature, bringing in perhaps the odd sleety shower to the far southwest of the UK. Otherwise it's dry for most and with plenty of sunshine, but feeling really quite raw in the wind, especially if you're in the south or the east. A similar day to come on Boxing Day.
From all of us here at the GB News family,
I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas.
Full of comfort and joy, and a glorious and prosperous New Year.
Merry Christmas to everyone watching and listening to GB News.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. On the M4 westbound, drivers face congestion between junctions 24 at Coldra and 26 at Malpass, affecting travel times. A collision on the M180 westbound in North Lincolnshire has closed a lane between junctions 2 and 1, with normal conditions expected by 10:15 tonight. In Surrey, a fire on the M23 southbound between junctions 8 and 9 has closed 2 lanes, expected to resolve shortly after 7s this evening. And on the trains, cross-country and Elna services between Newcastle and York face significant disruptions. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
hello there. A Merry Christmas Eve to each and every one of you. Thank you for choosing to spend it here with Dewbs & Co. We very much appreciate it. Alan Miller and Bill Rammel alongside me. Valerie's got in touch and said, Michelle, please, can you just wish everybody at GB News and beyond a fabulous Christmas? She says, I'm a young at heart 72-year-old. I like that, Valerie. Merry Christmas back to you too. Baroness Jacqueline Foster. Yes, we like her. She's watching the programme. Hello. She's just got in touch and said, Michelle, about these averted terror attacks in Manchester, much of this could have been avoidable and stamped out if the authorities had stamped out the what she calls anti-Semitic hate protests. The terrorist supporters have been emboldened by the appeasement shown by weak politicians. She says many of you will agree with that. Look, I want to talk to you about non-crime hate incidents now. They look set to be scrapped as police chiefs are going to tell the Home Secretary that they are no longer fit for purpose, I quote. When were they ever fit for purpose? Absolute lunacy, if you ask me. Do you welcome the scrapping of these, Alan Miller?
I absolutely welcome it. I want to say this is a brilliant show pre-Christmas. I'm excited because so many things are happening that show that when people campaign, when they articulate it, when people write to their MPs, when they get involved in the press, when they do protests, when they challenge authority and say this is unacceptable, things can change. Now, this was from 2014, and the police basically made up this nonsense that it didn't even have to be hate, and you could just have a subjective view, and it could be based on a haircut, one arrest on a bus, could be, you know, it's all about speech and saying things or doing things on social media. An absolute affront to all of the great achievements that Britain has made in terms of conscience, liberty and freedom of speech. So yes, if this is now being dispensed with, but as we will remind ourselves, Hendon Police Training College maintaining protected characteristics, the government pushing forward this thing on protected characteristics on Islamophobia laws. We know that the Home Office promoting issues, the whole question of DEI. So when people say, well, the police are going to use common sense, it's not the common sense of Thomas Paine, it's the common sense of saying we've got these protected characteristics, and that sounds like it's a bit far right or it's a bit racist, meaning you've got questions about borders, or you think that there's an issue with this migrant hotel or illegal migrants, or perhaps you don't dot your I's in quite the right way, and the people of the great and the good don't like it. So it's a fantastic moment where people have recognised how hated these things are. Well done to people like Alison Pearson, Graham Linehan, Free Speech Union, Harry Miller from We Are Fair Cop, and Together and others. Many people will campaign against this. But I'm very concerned that we've got a situation where the police and others think that they should be able to monitor our speech. We see this with the Employment Rights Act now that's looking to come in, that, you know, what you say, banter in the pub, exchanges between people should be monitored and policed, and that is of grave concern, and we need to stop it. We've seen it around two-tier policing and the judiciary.
Bill?
I do welcome this change, but let's give a bit of historical context. These non-crime hate incidents came out of the Macpherson review into the appalling murder of Stephen Lawrence almost 30 years ago. And the logic of it was to enable the police to undertake intelligence gathering so that you could tackle very serious violent crime. But it has got completely out of control. You know, the expansion to all protected characteristics, I think, is expanding it. The police judgment in these cases has been appalling in terms of, you know, the complaints they've received, and then they've acted on them, and often they've turned up at people's houses for just comments. Yeah, absolutely. You know, with a huge number of police officers. It has driven malicious, frivolous complaints against fellow citizens. My view has always been, and I've argued it on this show before, and you and I, Alan, might be closer to each other than you think on this. In my view, the only dividing line between what's acceptable in terms of free speech and what's not is violence and the advocacy of violence. Everything else, I think you should be able to debate, say, and proclaim. So I think it is a welcome change. Clearly, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has invited this set of recommendations coming forward from the police. However, I've still got concerns about where we're going to end up, because as I read the announcement from the police today, they say it's only the most serious incidents which would be recorded as antisocial behaviour. Well, what's the definition of the most serious incidents? And actually, some antisocial behaviour is criminal in legal terms. So, you know, but what's the situation going to be with that regard? And I actually think the police should not effectively be legislating on this. That's the job for governments and parliaments. And I think the government should drive the review of this.
The non-crime hate incident. So the gift is in the name.
Yeah, the clue's in the title.
You know, and we need a police force that polices without fear or favour, that deals with the outrageous amounts of shoplifting, of assaults that are going on, of burglaries. Often you have to email them or they can't show up. Obviously, we've seen the rape gangs and we've seen illegal migrants coming in the country. We see all of these things going on, and there's been this myopic obsession with offence, giving offence to people people, and somehow that's got to be protected. I'm also very concerned this government is bringing in digital ID, and that is an arena where we've seen people being imprisoned for things that they've put on social media. So we need to all challenge that. Keep up the good work, all the GB viewers.
Digital ID can help us to protect our borders and protect us from crime.
It'd be an absolute disaster.
I can't bear this ridiculousness that the Labour Party think that we're all so dense that we truly believe that digital ID has been introduced to help control the border. That's not what it is.
It's one of the rationales and reasons.
No, it's not. It's an excuse because you know people are angry about that issue, so you think their anger will allow you to sneak
No,
it
they're
in.
not, Michelle. Look at the polling evidence. The vast majority of people support identity cards.
What was the question asked in that poll?
Do you support identity cards?
Mandatory identity cards?
Yes.
No.
Really?
No, what happens is,
go and look at the polling
question is always asked in a certain way, like they always do. Here's the thing. The majority of the British public do not want to have mandatory digital ID cards. That's why we've had 3 million sign a petition. People are out on the streets protesting it. It's got nothing to do, it won't stop the boats. What it will do is it will control and limit and suffocate us even more.
Do you know, Alan, in my experience, people who don't like polling evidence criticise the framing of the question.
Oh, that old chestnut. Anyway, look, I want to talk to you about working class police, prison officers. Are they working class people? This is about a scheme to help kids get social mobility, but you have to be working class to qualify. Let's take a look after the break. I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Dewbs & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dewbs and Co. I said at the start, and I'll say it again, thank you so much for choosing to spend your Christmas Eve with us. We really do appreciate it. You tell me, are you working class? I always find this such an interesting conversation. And it's the kind of thing that you argue over the Christmas dinner table, and all hell breaks loose, quite frankly. This is all about a scheme where the children of certain professions can get onto schemes to help them with social mobility. But what they're saying is, if your dad or your mum is a train driver who earns 80 grand a year, then you can come on because it's deemed to be working class. But if your mum or dad are a police officer, a prison officer or whatever, you can't. What's all this about? What is this notion of working class? And who is going to decide it, and are they using the right metric?
Well, they're big questions, but I think the problem is we've got a really prescriptive, technocratic government, and it's really infuriating, right? So, but just on the point about class, it's really massively important.
Do you get paid by the word every time you say technocratic?
I'm sorry if I do that too much. It's just that they're everywhere, and their solution is not about democracy. It's not about engaging people. It's not about coming up with ideas that they can inspire, but it's about saying we're going to have these legislative measures just imposed on you. So it's shorthand and it's important, but class, I think, is really important. It's not talked about enough in Britain. In fact, the identitarian moment, identity politics, which has come to dominate, is reflective of the fact that the Labour Party, which used to mean labouring people, has divorced itself from working people. The Conservatives have divorced itself from conservatism. And what you've got is a situation where it was always the case that if you're a week or two away from poverty, that generally meant you're working. So you work to reproduce yourself, right? You basically get paid only a wage, and that's what it is. And how that differentiated you working in a range of areas, right? Forget all this Fordism and post-Fordism, and if you worked in an office. If you are working class, you go out and do that. Now, obviously, the kind of school, the area you're in, an industrial town or agricultural, there are all these kind of things that are important. Sociology watered all those ideas down, right? And it said, you know, there's this whole bourgeoisement, and there was social mobility. But the point is, majority of people still are working people, and often they don't feel like they've been represented in Britain. I think the solution to all of this is that we need to get to grips with productivity. And actually, in the past, the left and the right used to agree on all this. Expand the productive forces, get efficient, and resolve it. And unfortunately, the people who are in power have no idea about how to do that, and we need that done. We need to...
My mum and dad left school at 14. I grew up in a council house, and you know, I've done all sorts of things in my life, which means I'm no longer technically defined as working class. But it gives me an understanding that class still really matters in this country, and tackling inequality for working class people is an important priority. I've often argued the most discriminated, disadvantaged group in British society in terms of education are white working class boys, and we need to do much more in that regard. And therefore, things like positive schemes to prioritise access to civil service internment summer programmes on the basis of being working class, I think in principle are a good thing. It's about levelling up. But you can't do it on the basis of social class definition. It's got to take account of household income as the most effective proxy for being working class.
Well, I never understand this, because I will defend to the hilt that I am working class. I regard myself as working class. Nobody will ever dissuade me of that view. My income to me is absolutely irrelevant. My working classness is a core tenet of who I am. It's my value set, it's my outlook, it's my work ethic. It runs through me like an absolute rod. Whatever my bank balance or my salary or whatever it is completely irrelevant to that in my mind.
But if you look at the social class definitions, and that's why you end up with, you know, a train driver on 80 grand a year not being designated as middle class. If you do it through the socioeconomic definitions, I think you end up with some. If you're seeking to give people some leg up an advantage, you end up with some irrational decisions. But, you know, technically, Michelle, you are, and I'm in exactly the same position as you. Technically, I'm no longer working class, and I think technically You're not.
I'm working class until the day I die. I can absolutely assure you of that. No one will ever change my mindset on that one. One of my viewers has just got in touch and said, Michelle, what are you talking about? Who has these kind of conversations over the Christmas dinner table? I'm one of those people. Don't ever invite me round to your Christmas dinner, because obviously you shouldn't talk politics or religion. I get stuck right in all of them. How I don't get kicked out of my own family dinners is beyond me. Look, I am wishing you all a very, very, very Merry Christmas. I've got a Christmas special coming up for you at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Take a look.
Party, and remember, this isn't just what the polling.
What are you talking about?
We're gonna have to do that bit again. Sorry, sorry, we're gonna do that again.
I should have just carried on, shouldn't I? I should have shown my exceptional professionalism.
Okay, come on, because they're going to get mad at us in a minute.
I'll carry on. Right. Look, right now, seriously.
In, Matt. Bring your thoughts. Matt.
It's not. Okay, one more
Matt,
go.
You've got to.
Okay,
right.
One more go. Sorry.
Come on, we've got a full show.
Okay,
at
come on.
Here.
Green Party. For God's sake.
Matt, you got. I've got to tell you, it wasn't just Matt that lost it. All three of us had the giggles repeatedly. I did learn quite a key lesson in that programme. Maybe I shouldn't open Dewberry Tavern for an entire programme. Maybe I should just keep it to a small segment. But look, I really mean it. Thank you so much for watching and listening to us here at GB News. Thank you to my excellent panel. And I wish each and every single one of you the merriest, happiest Christmas ever. And do not be alone. GB News is here for you. Do join us. Night.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It is dry finally for much of the UK, but increasingly windy during the next 24 hours, and that wind coming from the east is going to make it feel cold. That's the main idea for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Cold easterly winds, particularly for the southern half of the UK where the isobars are more tightly packed together. The easterlies at the moment bringing cloud cover, but the cloud tending to lift and break a bit more overnight as drier air filters in from the east, and as a result a few breaks in the cloud across eastern and central parts of the UK, more especially Scotland, where we will see a touch of frost in places because of those clearer skies and lighter winds for Christmas Eve morning. But that's where the best of the sunshine will be first thing across much of Scotland. A brighter and drier start compared to the last few mornings. For virtually everyone, it is a dry start to the day, and Northern Ireland looking a bit brighter as well. Some patchy cloud remaining. And we also see a continuation of the patchy cloud across England and Wales, but the cloud a bit higher, and as a result, it's not quite as gloomy as it has been during the week so far. Some decent cloud breaks then for many of us on Christmas Eve, with sunny spells coming through, more especially into the afternoon. Just some patchy cloud remaining across eastern parts, with this easterly wind strengthening all the while. That's going to make it feel cold, 5 to 7 Celsius on the thermometer, but feeling more like 1 to 3 degrees in the wind. The wind strengthens further on Christmas Day, risk of coastal gales around the south coast first thing, and that wind a key feature, bringing in perhaps the odd sleety shower to the far southwest of the UK. Otherwise it's dry for most and with plenty of sunshine, but feeling really quite raw in the wind, especially if you're in the south or the east. A similar day to come on Boxing Day.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.